ashes. The spirits light up the night, looking down the edge of forever. So stop me or take my advice.
Hey, there you are.
Hey.
So what would you do if we went live and I wasn't here?
Probably panic.
Panic? Don't do that. Don't do that. But yeah, that could happen. Just wouldn't be here. Be undependable. Anyhow, all my computers worked.
Wow, that's got to be a first.
It's a miracle. Everything just worked tonight. So anyhow, we got more snow coming tonight.
Oh, of course.
It hasn't already started, huh? We have nowhere to put it. Nowhere.
No.
I mean, you can't put more in my yard. It won't melt till July already.
They'll put more on the roof.
God, you people listening in LA, you have no idea how good you have it. You don't. Nothing. They're bathing in 70-degree weather probably. Or maybe they're getting rough weather. I don't know. But anyhow, so last night, me and Joey, remember we talked about Uncle Joey a couple of weeks ago, and we went to my kind of condo, kind of basically a giant steel building with, a bunch of stuff in it. It's my workshop. It's whatever.
Cool stuff.
But we decided to redecorate yesterday, the living area.
How'd
and
that
we just
go?
figure out it'll take us a couple hours, right? We're there like 9 hours till like 2 a.m. And then I end up meeting a guy that I keep hearing about that I'm going to meet because it's one of Yvette's best friend's husband. And they keep talking about getting us together. Well, last night, like 1:30 in the morning, there's a knock on the door. And this guy's like, oh, the gate is like stuck open or whatever. We need to, do you know how to get it closed? And I'm like, no, whatever. And I invited him in and we're talking. And come to find out, I started asking him questions. I'm like, do you know Caitlin? He's like, yeah, that's my wife. And I'm like, oh my God, you're Dan. No, I know. So it was kind of fun. And he hung around. And then we worked till like, I got almost 3 a.m. Then we went to Quick Trip. And we're eating double bacon cheeseburgers and corn dogs at 3 a.m. At a gas station.
What are you guys, teenagers?
And we're just, we're like dumb kids and we're just talking about the old days or whatever. And we're just chowing on this just, double bacon cheeseburgers at 3 a.m. Think about that. And we're exhausted and our backs are killing us. And then, oh, by the way, while we were there, we both of us crushed our fingers at the same time while we were hanging this enormous decoration. And we're on ladders, right? And this thing comes crashing down and landed on his finger and my finger and crushed him. And we're bleeding all over. And we're looking for the first aid kit. And then, of course, the Band-Aids are like 90 years old and they don't stick anymore. So we ended up using masking tape, frog tape for bandages. It worked.
It works.
Masking tape. Yeah, paint masking tape. It worked at a pinch. Okay, enough of that crap. Anyhow, that's what I've been up to. So if I look a little weird or off today, it's because I I know why I brought it up. Because then I get home, right, at probably 3:30, whatever. And I'm in this studio and I'm just cleaning up or whatever, doing a little paperwork for tonight. And I hear what sounds like a lion roaring in the next room. Swear to God, it sounded like you'd hear that lion in a zoo in his cage when he's kind of grumpy.
Yeah, a roaring lion.
I'm hearing this, like a low roar, growling roar. And I'm like, what in the world's going on? I'm like kind of freaked out. So I go into the hallway area, the foyer area, and I hear it coming out of the bathroom, and the door's shut. And I'm like, what the heck? So I open the door, and it's like coming out of the toilet.
It's coming out of the toilet.
The water is, I swear to God, the water is like, you can hear it sloshing, and there's this roar, like, coming out of the toilet. And, a toilet's like a damn speaker. Now, I don't want any jokes. No, it wasn't somebody sitting on it. It wasn't me.
Was it you?
But I'd heard that before that if there's like a little earthquake, it'll actually cause these weird sounds to come out of your toilet. And the water was sloshing back, and you could just hear it really kind of violently. I wonder if we didn't have a little, like a small earthquake last night. I mean, literally, we're right on a fault line here. I don't know if you knew that.
No, I didn't.
And Minnesota is very stable, but if it ever blows, it's going to blow big.
Okay.
It's going to really blow. Like, it's going to go. Like, it's going to do one of those things where the Mississippi River flows backwards type deals. It's going to really go. But anyhow, so that was the mystery solved. But it went on for like an hour, and then it quit.
And then it was done.
Oh, yeah, that water was just weird in the sewer pipes. Anybody in our audience ever heard that? Sounds come out of their toilet? And I don't want any jokes. Oh, God. There's enough jokes built into that. So what else we got here? Well, anyhow, I was going to also mention, too, I'm on a peninsula. So it may have been just this peninsula that's
the peninsula
with the frost or the thine or something that could have, because I'm sure there's water below my floor, probably 10 feet.
10 feet, you think?
Yeah, I think the water table's really, in the wintertime, it gets all weird. So it could have been that, too. Could have been a localized shaking.
Localized shaking.
Yeah, localized. Causing a lion roar out of my toilet. Oh, my God. Okay, so we have a really cool guy at the bottom of the hour. Eric from Vinyl Rewind. I have not met Eric, but he seems like super cool and super knowledgeable, and I love his channel.
And his attention to detail.
Yes,
wow.
Yeah, it's amazing, actually. Guy works hard, but I'm really looking forward to meeting him and talking about Elvis conspiracies and maybe some other conspiracies, and God knows. We'll see where it goes. Should be an interesting conversation at the very least. It's going to be very interesting. So, I mentioned I live on a lake, right? And people always ask me, do you like go swimming in the summer? And my answer is like, no, are you nuts? Do you have any geese and ducks poop in the lake? Like it's the murky kind of water.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful lake. I mean, don't get me wrong, but the water's very murky. And I'm thinking of all the things that I've caught in there with big teeth, like northern pike, big ones. These are like 4 foot long fish with giant razor sharp teeth. No, I'm not swimming in there. Are you
not
nuts?
Swimming in that?
I know too much.
You know too much?
I'm not gulping duck dung and goose poo. It's not happening. And I see all these kids out there swimming all day long, and I think about all the crap. Oh, jeez. It's not like, I like to swim like, give me a nice clear ocean down in the Caribbean or there's spring-fed lakes I like to swim in.
So you like clear lakes?
Clear, yeah. Well, you can, where it's just not peat, I mean, it's a peat bottom out here.
Yeah.
You know what peat does? Yeah, it's just, it's muck.
Gross.
No thanks. So anyhow, so what I was thinking about snapping turtles, all the things then I remembered this clip, and I think it's clip A. And this is why I don't swim. Right here, an example.
Note to self: don't ever mess with a snapping turtle.
And he'll bite your wiener off. That's why. He will bite your wiener off.
Well, I hope you won't take it out and feed it to him.
No, well, you just saw it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just saw it. Okay, anyhow. So I just thought, well, let's talk about snapping turtles for a few minutes. They're interesting. They're prehistoric.
They are.
I've got tons of them in my lake. And there was a huge one on my beach last fall. Probably was, close to 3 feet.
3 feet?
Oh, yeah. Just that huge.
What's the biggest you've seen one?
Well, I saw a soft shell turtle that was bigger than that at that lake we used to live at when you were a kid. It was probably bigger than that, maybe 3.5, 4 feet diameter. Huge soft shell. I mean, it can be 100 years old.
Which is incredible.
Snapping turtles can live to 200 years.
200 years?
Yeah. or longer. They don't know. Do you think they know really? Nah, they have no idea. So I thought, let's go to some snapping turtle facts. Since you just watched one bite a wiener in half. Okay. Did you know snapping turtles only live in America? That's it. Restricted. Only to here, not in Europe or anywhere.
Nowhere else.
Nowhere
Really?
else. Just here. Yep.
Hmm.
And they inhabit a wide range of areas from southeastern California, southeastern Canada, Florida, blah, blah, blah. The alligator snapping turtle inhabits the southern part. So we have like the regular snapping turtle, but the alligator snapper is down south. Those are the really bad ones with the hooked beak.
The hook beak.
Yep, they got the hooked beak. And obviously they got powerful jaws. If one gets a hold of you, they're not going to let go. They're not. They're just going to hang on.
You're screwed.
You're going to have to. Well, the trick is to bring and get, like if it's on your hand or your fingers, you got to take it to the water. Do not try to pull it out.
So is the hope they'll let go of you and go into the water?
Yes.
I mean, do you even
Usually
have
they
your
will.
hand left at that point?
Usually they will. There was a time one time me and about maybe 10 other people rafted down a creek that goes, it was probably a 30-mile trip with rubber rafts. And one of the guys that was with us found this giant snapping turtle. And of course, he loads it into his raft. He did not want to he wanted to eat it. Like gross. Things like 100 years old. You don't want to eat that thing. It's old meat.
Jeez.
And there's have you ever heard the rumors that when you try to cook turtle meat, it'll crawl out of the pan?
No.
There's muscles in there that are so hard to kill. I mean, I've heard stories of snapping turtle meat. Like Greg Bamanick, my buddy of mine, he eats turtles all the time. Every year he's eating turtles. And he'll
on purpose
remove their head and they're still alive like the next day.
Jeez.
Yeah, it's bad. But the meat will crawl out of the pan from the nerves. They're very prehistoric. So what other facts? So obviously some people like to eat snapping turtles and keyword some. No way, wouldn't touch one. Old meat.
Yeah.
I mean, would you want to eat 100-year-old meat?
I mean, it's aged to perfection.
Yeah, but it's also soaked up every environmental hazard there known to man. But it's considered, a delicacy, and some people really love it. I mean, they love it. But to me, it's, and I have tasted it. It's chewy, and it's like, I don't know.
I've never had the pleasure.
Yeah, well, maybe some people in our audience have, and they can look for, it says, we had alligator snappers in Indiana. I grew up catching them as a kid. But did you eat them, Helton? That's the question. So apparently William Howard Taft actually had a guy. He brought in a special chef just because he was known for his turtle soup.
Just for the soup.
Yep, that's it. Yep. Biggest snapping turtle apparently was 483 pounds. Or no, 403 pounds. Put up photo B. This is not the biggest snap, but it's a big one. It's the biggest one I could find on the internet.
I don't think it's a dinosaur.
Oh, yeah, look at the head on that thing. How'd you get your hand in that mouth? Have it clamped down on you. And I think there's another one, too, that's pretty big. Photo C. Yep. Look at the head on this thing. Yeah, there's a little forced perspective on that, but it's still a big head. Just think of that thing clamping on your junk.
Oh, my God.
Swimming. See, no, snapping turtles generally in the water, they're docile. They get mean when they're on land because, they get cornered. They feel like they're threatened on land. But if you're swimming skinny dipping, they might think that, something's food, if you know what I mean. I mean, you know what I mean?
I know.
You know what I mean. People know what I mean. But generally, they're not dangerous. Don't bother them. If you see one, leave it alone. Don't touch it.
I'm not touching that thing.
No. Okay. Enough about turtles. Nobody cares.
I care about turtles.
This is where you go, I care about turtles. No, you don't.
Love turtles.
Oh, I love turtles. Did you have a turtle when you were? Yeah, you know, Blaine did.
Blaine did. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I remember. There was an island I knew, a small island in our lake, and we would go out there and I'd bum rush the island with the boat and jump out of the boat, and there'd be like a million of these mud turtles scrambling. I'd catch one for Blaine, and we'd keep it for a few days and let it go. And he just was so happy to have a turtle.
Yeah.
You remember that?
Oh, the smells were great.
Yeah, in your bedroom. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, they can put out some smells. They can. Anyhow. So let's get into some fun clips. They're not so straight. First clip. This one is weird. Only because, you know, an animal will get in your car, right? Like a bear. What's interesting about this,
Look at the bear.
we'll listen to the audio of this.
Oh my God.
So this bear's trying to get in the guy's truck successfully. They're honking the horn.
The bear is in the truck.
I love her. But here, watch what happens.
Dad, don't pull up so far. I need to be able to
The
see.
bear shut the door. Watch this. He shuts the door.
He locked himself in it.
Okay.
Dad, you gotta go to their door.
So now the bear is in the car with the door locked or shut. It's like,
Who's gonna open that door?
those damn bears, I mean, they really do have that getting into cars down to a science. I guess they'll break into your car with a little piece of chapstick in your car. They'll smell it. And they'll know how to pry the door open, just rip the door off, or they know how to open door handles. It's crazy. But I've never seen one get in
And shut the door.
and shut the door. And then what do you do? What are you going to do? Go over there and open the door up? I mean, you know, I've worked with bears a ton up close. I've had them, you know, with that bear documentary I did for all those years. In fact, I talked to Dr. Lynn Rogers today.
How's he doing?
Well, good. He's doing really good. And we were planning out some more projects together, bear projects.
Has he been on the show?
Yeah, he has.
Oh yeah, he has been on the show.
Yeah, he's been on the show. But we've had a lot of interesting things with bears, obviously, and Lynn is so used to it. But that was a new experience. Like when, you know, I remember I was standing in front of a bear den once, telling the guy I was with that we were going to film. I just wanted to get a shot of her in the den, right? So we dug it out. And I'm like, no, don't worry, Joe. She will not come out. Lily won't. I was Lily or Whiteheart will not come out of her den. Telling him all the way up to Canada. Don't worry, the bear won't come out of the den. I'm digging it out. You know, no, don't worry, they won't come out. So I dig it out and the bear comes out of the den. And of course, the snow is so deep, I fall backwards and the bear's standing on me. Yep.
Standing on you.
Standing on me. Yeah. Just momentarily, you know, I was looking around because will leave and he'll go back in. But yeah, I disturbed it. Didn't mean to. I just wanted to get a shot for the doc and trying to check on her to see, make sure. Sometimes bears will get shot in the fall and then they'll go hibernate. And you can smell the infection if you dig out, you know, get into the den just to check on them.
So
But anyhow, I did get a great shot of her coming past the camera and used it in the doc as she rushes past my camera. Of course, you don't see me get knocked over and the bear standing on me. Yeah. And Joey's standing up on the rock right above me. And I said, Joe, just don't move. I'm talking to him, laying on my back. It's like, Joe, just don't move. Just keep it, and I'm scaring Joe on purpose. No, I said, just keep in mind this bear hasn't eaten in 6 months. It's fine. I couldn't resist. So I knew I was fine, you know. I knew she didn't even care. I was just standing on me. I was a good platform. Anyhow, okay. So clip 2. This is, don't mess with big rocks. And I mean, do not mess with big rocks. This is insane. It's just when you see what happens here. Jesus. It took that semi out like it was nothing. Did you see that, Alex?
Yeah, it was brutal.
Just yep. Nice. So anyhow, these clips, all of them are don't mess with clips. Every one. The next one is don't mess with big trees. Do not mess with big trees. You know what's good for you. Jeez. That guy handled that so well. Just get thrown in the air. What are the chances? It's funny he didn't do the victory sign.
Oh, he did not.
No, the victory rodeo sign. Can you play that one more time without any volume?
Yeah.
Don't mess with big trees. I don't know if they're the ones that cut the dang tree down.
Oh.
What a deal. So I just love the way it balances. So next one, don't mess with big moose. And I have no idea how these shots were acquired. This guy was just standing there and these moose are walking by him, but it's definitely not a trail cam. And these moose are huge. And they're the meanest, most dangerous animal in the American Northwoods, besides maybe a buffalo.
Is someone filming that right now?
Yeah, watch. This one you can have the volume on. Some of the sounds they make are amazing. They're just, chill. They're pretty winter worn. The guy has no idea what kind of danger he's in. Jeez.
Clearly.
Yeah, plus there's a bunch of females. Yep, so anyhow, don't mess with big moose. I've been with people, Alex, that we've been in the woods. I was in a canoe one time with a guy, and we were maybe 10 feet from shore, and a moose showed up along the shore, and the guy freaked out. He thought we were going to get stomped, and we could have been stomped to death. Yeah, even in a canoe. They decide to get you. They're going to get you. They're quick. Okay, next one. Don't mess with a flock of birds this big. This is really amazing. At first, when I saw this clip, I didn't even know what I was looking at. Watch this form. Watch this happen. As these birds group up. This is right out of... Did you ever see Alfred Hitchcock's The Birds, Alex?
Yeah, I did.
Did you? When? When did you see that?
I was a kid.
Oh, okay. Did it scare you?
I think at that age, everything scared me.
Oh, yeah. That movie always creeped me out.
But yeah, this is insane.
But it's the form. I can imagine a lot of people had no idea what they were looking at. Are they clouds? Because they're so black. There's so many of them.
How many do you think there are?
It's called like an ocean, I guess, of birds. Oh my God, there's got to be millions. Yep. So anyhow, there you go. Don't mess with birds. So definitely don't want to mess with our next guy. This next stand, don't put it up yet. It's got 8-foot wide horns. Think of an animal with horns, 8 foot wide. It's not a moose. That's a steer. Texas Longhorn. You got to put this up. It's amazing. They call it an Anicoli. Let's see here if I can read it. Anicoli Wat to See is what the name of this bull is, or whatever the hell it is. Look at the size of those horns.
They're huge.
Yeah.
And he's just there, like nothing.
Oh, yeah. That thing could just, can you imagine the damage? It's like he's got this thing likes him. I still wouldn't.
You.
Thank God he likes
you. It could
you.
accidentally kill you.
Do you remember the old, I don't know, in some movies they'll have like Somebody will mount the big Texas Longhorn horns on a Cadillac.
Yeah.
I don't know if anybody actually ever really did that. But it's in like cartoons and movies. Yeah, anyhow. So that's an Anacoli Watusi. That's what they call that cow or bull or whatever the hell.
Do they normally get that
Yeah,
big?
cow. But what?
Those horns normally get that big?
8 foot wide in the at the base, the size of a basketball. That's big. Don't mess with those things. So this next one is another sea lion. And do not mess with a sea lion when it's carrying a squid. Here's why. If you see a sea lion carrying a big squid, don't mess with it. What in the heck?
Just threw it at him.
It's like it's like used it as a weapon. Unbelievable. That poor guy. He's just like, what in the hell? And that thing's really whipping him. That's just insane.
Say that one more time.
It's like, don't mess with sea lions carrying squid. Okay. So the next one is don't mess with a thrift store. Don't mess with a thrift store. And we're going to have to put the volume up and let the story play out.
Or switch to. Somebody convinced me that I haven't jumped timelines or switched to a new matrix or that there's not been a glitch in the matrix. So let me explain what I have been trying to legitimize and make logical in my head all day long, and I still cannot figure out what has happened here. Yesterday,
I believe her.
took my
She's
daughter
sincere.
to a thrift store. We were looking for a specific chair. She saw this pair of Elsa shoes from the movie Frozen and would not leave without them. They were old, they were kind of worn, and I was like, whatever, grab the shoes, let's take them home. They'll be perfect for dress up. I put them in her basket in her room. And this morning I came in here into the living room where we keep our shoes in that shoe basket there. And I see the Elsa shoes. And I was like, well, that's really weird. I had put this pair of shoes in her room in her dress up basket. I can't believe she's already gotten them out and put them back in the basket. And so I picked up the shoes. I walked to her room and to the basket thinking, well, I'll just put them back in there. And there's 2 pairs of these shoes.
See, I said don't mess with a thrift store.
But that wasn't the part that
It'll mess with your mind.
I'm so confused about. On the bottom, because again, I got these at a second
Sir, we
store.
can quit it, but I can explain it quicker than she can.
shoes,
One pair of shoes has got the strap broken on the left side, and the other pair of shoes got the strap broken on the right side. And they both have writing on it. And she's, she would know if she bought 2 pairs of shoes.
Yeah.
Kind of weird. Anyhow. So don't mess with a thrift store. They'll mess with you right back. There's a lot of things that you just don't mess with. So the next one is don't mess with a 3-horned yak. Clip 9. Do not mess with a 3-horned yak. There it is. What the heck? Imagine that thing going after you, Alex. None of these need sound. None of them. They're that good. So the next one, kind of like last night, this is what I was expecting to see, a lion in my bathroom, right? Don't mess with a deer in your bathroom eating toilet paper. Clip 10. Do not mess with a deer in your bathroom eating toilet paper. Just don't do it. It's not good. The deer's just like, yeah, whatever. God knows how that story ended. But that's what I expected to see last night. A cougar in my bathroom. It does happen. Anyhow, clip 11. Don't mess with bugs that look like popcorn. Don't eat them either. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
Imagine having that thing crawl on you at the movie theater. And you grab it and just pop it in your mouth.
Juicy.
God, that's just, nature is so weird, Alex. What do you think that's trying to mimic? That it's called the popcorn bug.
I don't know.
What do you think it's trying to mimic? Why? Why?
Thrives in movie theaters.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it'd be fun to release like a whole bucket of those things in the movie theater. Wouldn't that be cool? Let a whole bucket of them go right in the theater.
So it looks like we got one more clip left, and then we're gonna bring Eric on.
Yeah, what time is it? Oh yeah, yep, we're running 5 minutes. So clip 14, don't mess with giant iguanas if you're a waitress. No, that's a monkey. That's fine. Don't mess with dancing monkeys. Because they're just doing it to distract you. They're gonna nail you. That monkey's gonna bite her and attack her, I just know it. Anyhow. So let's go to the iguana clip. Clip 14. Or did you get your numbers mixed up?
There's a 14?
Well, yeah, clip 14. Or no, well, there's all sorts of clips we didn't do yet. That was clip 12. How about clip 13? Don't mess with a tiger when you're on a 50cc scooter. Clip 13. I love the sound in this clip.
Second.
Are you all screwed up, Alex?
I'm all screwed up. I thought there was 12 clips.
No, there's, geez, 15 of them.
There's 15 of them.
Yeah. Don't mess with Alex's clips. It's no big deal. Can't find it.
Yeah.
Anyhow, these people are riding a scooter on a little moped. They're zipping down this road, and all of a sudden a tiger comes out of the forest. Obviously, they're in India. And they stop. They just slam their brakes off. They stop. And they just kind of start pushing backwards. And all of a sudden you hear the motor just leaving. The tiger's just sitting there. Unbelievable. All right, I'm done. Let's introduce Eric a bit here.
All right, cool.
I'm going to try. Eric is a bit of a mystery man, as you know, which is cool. He likes his privacy, and we're going to keep it that way. But he is a very talented creator of the YouTube channel Vinyl Rewind, right?
Yes.
And of course, hold on here. I gotta stretch remember my note problem here. It just keeps getting longer and longer. It's kind of like the workday. Okay. So Eric is the creator and talent of Vinyl Rewind. The channel is your home for vinyl related content on YouTube. He's got new uploads that feature music history, video essays, vinyl-based music reviews, artist interviews, vinyl collection tips for both the novice and expert collectors. But what caught my eye was he did this amazing expose on Elvis Presley and all the tons of conspiracy theories. And he did such a good job. I'm like, I got to get this guy on. So without that, let's bring Eric on here. I'm excited to meet him.
Hey, Eric.
Thank you for having me.
We don't see you yet, but pretty soon.
Okay.
Hey, you got your last name on your thing.
Yeah.
I was asking Alex all day, what's Eric's last name? I don't know. It's Vinyl. Eric Vinyl.
I'll take it. Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, no problem. Can you put your I don't know if you don't have to have your camera on, but we'd love to see you.
Do you not see him, Doug? I see him.
Yeah, I see myself.
No, what the heck? How come? Okay, already we got a conspiracy. I'm telling you, it's a black screen on mine.
That's so
How can
weird.
that be, Alex?
I see him clearly.
Well, yeah, but you're the moderator, so maybe only you do. Does our audience see Eric or not? We need some feedback in the chat room. Because I don't see Eric.
Yeah, guys, do you see Eric? He's currently...
It's blank. God, I told you.
It's blank? That's
yeah,
so
we
weird.
need to... Eric, just go ahead and get off the link
screen.
and just come back on. Or maybe his camera's... Oh, I bet at the bottom he's got his camera off.
No. Yeah, Eric, if you just want to rejoin the stream, that might fix it. Otherwise,
so
if you reboot your computer.
Yeah, just leave it and then just come back in. Yep.
That's so weird.
Yep, I'm leaving the stream too.
Oh, great. Just me. Sorry, guys.
I'm here. I'm here. It's just my voice. I'm disembodied.
Yeah, we got a bunch of no's. Man, this is the first time for everything on this StreamYard thing.
Yeah, no, that's fine. That's fine. And he'll never come back. That'll be the end of our show. There he is.
Okay, you can see him?
Now I see a perfect, Eric.
Hey,
Dude, you're looking good.
thank you.
You do your show is so polished.
Thank you.
Yeah, I really mean that. You know, I have a
Appreciate that.
big production background, and you put more work into your channel than most productions do. So yeah, take it as a compliment. It's awesome.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
So how in the world does a young guy like you get interested in vinyl? Something, what snapped in you? Something snapped. What was it?
I mean, I grew up with it. I mean, some of my earliest memories is just going through my family's record collection because it was on like the lower shelf and I could have access, and they were, 12 by 12, and like a little 3-year-old. It was just cool looking at the pictures, and like my older brothers would be making like mixtapes, and sometimes they would have me like put the needle down, and it just seemed like magic. So I was always enamored by vinyl specifically, but then just music in general is just such a passion for me.
Yeah.
And it's just, you can tell so much about a time and a place and a culture and a people and a country just from the music, and it's a way of connecting with people from all different backgrounds. It's really, really cool.
Well, you've got that, romantic side, I guess, to you, and you appreciate all that. I grew up too playing with, of course, I'm a whole lot older than you. You could be my grandkid. But I grew up playing with an old Thomas Edison phonograph.
Oh, wow.
The tube records, the blue tubes.
The cylinders, right?
The cylinders.
Yeah.
And I remember even at like 6 years old repairing and taking apart and getting that whole thing working again. And, so yeah, there's something very amazing that kids are missing with this digital music. Don't you agree?
Yeah, I think the album experience has sort of disappeared. Because like, especially when you look at, I don't know if you use Spotify, but Spotify will tell you like the number of plays per track, and you'll look at something like Sgt. Pepper's, and clearly certain tracks have more plays than others, which just tells me people skip around a lot, right?
Yeah.
And people can listen to however they want. The good news is there's definitely a resurgence for vinyl.
Yeah.
And I think music in general, I think that's not going away. I mean, even if it's not vinyl, cassettes are really coming back too. So are CDs. Interesting enough, just because of the price of vinyl has really gone up, especially since 2020, just, supply issues and then inflation and all that. And so.
Yeah, plastic is quite expensive. How many companies are still pressing records out there?
Quite a few, but like, that's sort of there's only so many pressing plants, and then even compounding the issue, there's only so many people that can actually make lacquers. And that's the pinch point of the whole manufacturing is those lacquers. And you need someone who's really skilled at that. And I forget where it was, but recently one of the only 2 manufacturers of lacquer, the thing you cut the record into, went up in flames. So there was a whole like supply issue there. There is a guy, I think in Germany, who's trying to get around lacquers, trying to skip that step. But there's, it's such a physical process. It's fascinating. And I honestly am not an expert. I couldn't tell you.
Yeah.
I could give you like a brief overview, but I mean, there's videos out there that do it really well.
Right. Yeah. And people should investigate records. I mean, when you look at the whole process, when a record is a diamond needle is in this groove, you just wouldn't think it would work the way it does. You would think the record would wear out really quick.
Right.
And they don't.
Right.
They don't.
Right.
They do wear out eventually, but not like you think. And it's just grooves in a plastic plate and a diamond vibrating, and and that's how it was made too. So it's made the same way it plays. It's backwards.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah,
definitely. Cool. It's interesting too, like especially with stereo, how they can even get stereo to work right. And then out on top of that, quad music was a thing for a minute, but there was different formats of quad audio, quadraphonic, so didn't quite take off. But that is also interesting too, 4-channel audio from a record.
So we're going to get into some cool stuff here, but
Yeah.
what should a person do when they inherit their father's record collection? A lot of them are, warped and just, the shape of records get in after being abused for sitting
Sure.
in someone's basement for 50
Yeah,
years.
there's a smell to them.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it depends.
What should people do with them?
I mean, if you literally have no interest in them, beyond sentimental or even just wanting to listen to them, and you want to try to sell them, a good thing to do is go to Discogs, which is a website where you can look up any record and you can get down into the details. Like you look in the, you gotta get good light, and you can look in the runout groove, look for the matrix, and you can actually pinpoint when exactly this record was manufactured.
Oh, cool.
It doesn't always matter because there's a few cases. For instance, the Led Zeppelin 2, there is the Bob Ludwig cut, which is highly coveted, versus the cut that came later. And so then you really want to look in there. But by and large, just generally dating when the record was produced, and then you look at the condition. If you have something that's really valuable, you may want to sell it on your own. But by and large, if you're better off just taking it to a local record shop, if you have one in your place, if you're looking to sell them. If you're looking to keep them, I recommend picking up some outer sleeves, something like this. It's just plastic. It slips over the cover, and it helps to prevent further ring wear. Like I'll show you here. This, I just happen to have these laying around, but this particular Zappa record has a lot of ring wear, and that's from sliding the record in and out from a shelf. And as cool as I think this looks, for a collector, this is not as desirable because it's not in mint condition. You know what I mean? But sometimes as a collector, you can get deals on these kind of records because the cover's beat up, but the record is in good shape.
So what's a record like that worth? Just an average Frank Zappa record?
This one in this condition, I mean, maybe $5.
Yeah. But don't you think 50 years from now, 100 years from now, this stuff's going to be big money?
I mean, there already is. You'd be surprised. The stuff that goes for a lot of money, I don't, no offense, but I don't think you would know a lot of the artists. It's really interesting from someone who's been collecting since, gosh, I don't know, seriously collecting since 2000. So almost 23 years. I've really seen like the trends sort of morph and change. And now this stuff, there's a whole group of collectors. It's a small group, but there's a whole group of collectors that don't actually even play the records. It's more of a collectible. You'll see that in certain fan groups, specifically like say Taylor Swift. Her marketing people are geniuses, and people really have bought into, getting some of these really, they're like, the cover may look the same, but it's the color of the vinyl is different. And so that's like, that would be considered like a variant. And certain ones have a very limited pressing, say like 500.
Yeah.
Some weren't even sold to the public. I personally, I'd have to run over there and grab it, but I have a McCartney 3 LP pressed by Third Man Records, Jack White's company, and it was limited to 333 copies. And that one went for a couple grand like a couple of years ago. But I think the prices have come down a little bit. But yeah, I mean, so yeah, you have records that are actually rare, and then you have these records that have rare variants, but the record itself, if you just wanted a regular black vinyl copy, it's not that hard to find. It's not that expensive. So Discogs is a great place to kind of like look at all the price differences. I mean, you might be really surprised. You might be, trying to find I don't know, one of your favorite albums, like let's say Dark Side of the Moon. It's incredible the number of different versions that are out there, from like Japanese pressings to the Mobile Fidelity audiophile grade pressing to like the 30th anniversary, to more recent pressings, to the very first UK pressing that has a slightly different label, and therefore it goes for a lot more money. But the music itself is the same.
So how many records do you have in your collection?
Oh gosh, I at the height I probably had around 3,000 pieces.
Jeez.
I've since pared it down quite a bit. So record wise, I probably, let's see, what do I have here? You can also open an account on Discogs and keep track of your collection.
Wow.
But I probably have, where was it? Yeah, about 1,400 LPs, and then 100 or so 45, some box sets, maybe 100 box set. Or no, not that many box sets. Maybe like a dozen box sets, and then some 10 inches and some 78s. No cylinders. I don't have any cylinders.
Yeah, you need to.
I know.
Yeah, you can still get that stuff for a song, but it's very rare, and it's just there's something about the old recordings are so bizarre.
If you ever make it out to Southern California, I highly recommend the Nethercut collection in Sylmar. It's a car collection, but it's also the family really loved music, and they have an incredible collection of like music boxes. So the precursor to vinyl records were these like metal discs, and you would crank it up,
right? Yep.
And it would be real tinny sound, but that was the way they did it. And so they have those. They have like the cylinders. They have the Edison one with the really thick records, and then they even have these things. What are they called? There's a term for them, but they're generally pneumatic driven orchestras in a box.
Yeah.
And they were like for like dance halls and stuff, and they were just these giant pieces of furniture, and it's incredible, and they all work. Everything works. They even have a full-on pipe organ, and sometimes during the over the years they'll actually play silent films with a hand crank projector and an organist playing to the silent film. It's an incredible space. Cool. So if you ever get to go, check it out. It's world class, and it's just pretty much free. It's incredible.
Yeah, no, it's cool. I think we should probably get into some of the fun stuff here.
Sure.
So this expose you did on Elvis, I thought it was so well done.
Oh,
and there were things in there I'd never heard. Tons of things actually I'd never heard. I had no idea. And obviously, I'm sure you don't know. You can't. I'm sure some of the things you probably think are more, you lean probably like, that part's probably true. Maybe that part isn't. But he was really, it seemed, obsessed with law enforcement.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Let's talk about that. I mean, this is a guy that he was a religious man.
Yeah.
But why do you think he was so obsessed with law enforcement?
Yeah. I honestly don't know. That's an interesting question. I would imagine it probably has something to do with being surrounded by protection and like feeling, feeling like having that power, and like being, he was really into weapons as well, guns. So maybe it had something to do with that.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, because he like gave Nixon a revolver. He like flew to his house in Los Angeles before he flew to DC to give Nixon a revolver.
He gave him a revolver.
Yeah, he took it off his wall, and then they flew to DC because he was at Graceland, so they flew to LA and then flew to DC, and presented him with this revolver. But I don't know if he could actually bring it into the office, because it was a weapon.
You would think not.
Yeah. It's so funny too. I was reading about, there was a reporter who was almost a columnist. I think that's sort of gone away these days, but sort of not a reporter, but like someone, the news of the town kind of a guy at the local DC paper. And I was reading him, and he talked about Elvis sashaying into the White House, and just him in like a cape, just like that. What a perfect description that was. Like, so strange. 1970. I mean, it was just such a, there he is.
Gosh.
Such a different time.
I would say So I mean, is Elvis, somebody you admire by any chance?
Yeah, I mean, I
music and-
definitely. So in high school, I started learning how to play guitar my senior year, and then one of my good buddies, he also played guitar, wrote songs, and so we started a rockabilly band together. And naturally, I just sort of was attracted to the Sun era of Elvis, Sun Studios, his earliest recordings, and naturally, Scotty Moore, talented guitarist, but generally his solos are pretty easy to learn for a beginner. So I liked him versus I can't remember his name right now, but the guy with Gene Vincent, that guy was a jazz guitarist, and his solos just
Insane.
are beyond my level. But Scotty Moore I could get into. He did a little bit of Travis picking, so I picked up Travis picking. So yeah, I mean, I wasn't a singer, but I like Blue Moon. Love that song. Also, Blue Moon in Kentucky is an amazing song. But at the same token, I also got into like Roy Orbison and Johnny Cash.
Yeah.
So like I really was enamored with that era specifically. And Elvis he just always seemed larger than life to me. Just iconic. And I just bought into the king of rock and roll. Yeah, and it wasn't like I wanted to necessarily emulate him. I just really admired his him as a performer and what he accomplished. It was such a, I don't know. It was almost.
Well, he definitely had a huge effect on the world. I mean, there's just no doubt. Huge effect on everybody.
And as a young person, it was a way to connect to someone in a different generation too. I remember going over to, what could be boring, like not an old person, but just like a family gathering. And I didn't really know a lot of people, but I talked to the aunt of my friend, and turns out she saw him in Vegas and like kissed him on the lips, and it was a whole thing. And it was a cool way to connect with somebody over that, like just to kind of share a little bit of that and just look at some of her memorabilia. It was really cool.
Very cool. So let's get into this. Obviously, first off, tell us why you decided to do this very detailed expose on all these conspiracy theories about him.
Well, I guess in my
motivated you?
mind, it was like a sequel to another video I had done, which was all about the death of Paul McCartney.
Oh yeah,
This was sort of like
we'll talk about that too. Yeah.
Yeah. So like I did that, and it did incredibly well on my channel. So, not to get into the details, but like when you talk to people in YouTube, they say, see what works, repeat it, build upon it. So I was like, okay, let's do Elvis is Alive, because that's something that even if you don't really believe it, everyone's kind of heard it, and it's kind of a joke, and it's like.
But here's what's interesting, Eric. It could be true.
Yeah.
That's what's interesting. There is that chance.
Sure.
That he really did have a mob hit out on him, and he wanted to just, and I'm sure it drives you crazy having to deal with jillions of people all the time. You can't, no privacy.
Bubba Hotep. Have you seen that film?
Yes.
No.
Yes,
Okay.
I have.
Okay. That's another Elvis thing, and it actually follows what you're saying. Like he made a deal with an Elvis impersonator to take over his life so he could live out the rest of his years in peace without anybody bugging him. And then it goes off the rails from there. But
yeah, that's one way of putting it.
But
well, the thing is, Eric, as you know, and almost everybody knows, truth is so often stranger than fiction.
Absolutely. Yeah, but absolutely. So yeah, I mean, for me. No,
but okay, what I'm trying to get you to admit is that don't you agree though, there is a slight chance that this guy didn't die in his bathroom.
We're pushing his age limit, I think.
Well,
but
okay. Yeah, well, now.
I mean, if we talk in 10 years from now, no, but sure, I'll give you that bone.
Right.
So you're saying, Eric, I guess what we're trying to get at is maybe he lived past, what did he die supposedly when he was in his 40s?
42.
42,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So maybe he lived past 42.
Of course, no, I totally get what you're saying. I'm just
Yeah.
playing around. I'm just saying, like, you know, I doubt he could live to 100, kind of a thing. So
Right.
no, I mean, yeah, totally. I mean, he could, yeah, if he had really,
If anybody could
if he
have
stopped
pulled,
eating those peanut butter and banana sandwiches and like was in good health, then yeah, he could probably, in theory, be alive. Yeah,
but he had enough money to pull off an escape if he would have wanted to, and enough
Sure.
power. That's the interesting part of it.
I just think he loved performing too much, though.
Yeah, well,
It's a good point. And the other thing that I found interesting watching your video is, like, I knew towards the end of his life he wasn't healthy, but I had no idea at like early 40s just how bad in shape he was, as far as like all the medical conditions you go through that he had.
Yeah, I mean, I do want to. This is a book that came out a couple of years ago that goes into great detail about genetically, he was going to have all these health problems anyway.
wow.
So it's fast. It's a really interesting read. Destined to Die Young. Sally Hodel wrote it. But anyway, and it's on a sad note. I mean, look what happened to his daughter. How young was she? So, and his mom died relatively young as well.
Yeah, we'd be remiss to not mention that. Yeah, there's some people that still don't know that he just lost his daughter, his only daughter, only child.
And like
at what, 54? She was 54, Eric?
That sounds right.
Yeah.
Don't quite. I actually haven't done the math.
I mean, no one wants to outlive their daughter.
Right.
No.
Right. Yeah. I know. I mean, yeah.
So, first off, I was going to mention, can we play a small little clip?
Yeah, go for it. Yeah,
I'd love to show people what you kind of did here.
Yeah.
Alex, you got something, don't you? Ready?
Yeah.
Okay.
What is there I got the whole thing up.
So we play the intro. The intro.
Yeah, let's do the intro.
Okay,
Yeah.
that makes sense. Yeah.
On August 16th, 1977, Elvis Presley passed away at the age of 42, and millions of people all over the world went into mourning. But almost as soon as the news broke, rumors started that he faked his death and went into hiding. On today's episode of Strange and Unusual Tales, we're going to dive into the history of this conspiracy theory and try to separate fact from fiction in order to answer the question, did Elvis Presley really die? But before we get into all the details, if you like these kinds of videos, take a second and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. It's a small thing that makes a big difference. All right, with all that said, let's get into it.
Did Elvis Presley really pass away?
I saw Elvis Presley at Winesburg Inn in Clyde, Ohio.
The search is over, ladies and gentlemen. Elvis lives and we're going to prove it.
Oh, and it's going.
Now, the gist of the Elvis is Alive conspiracy theory claims that in December of 1970, President Nixon swore in Elvis as a federal agent at large. Elvis then spent the following years working undercover with the Bureau of Narcotics and Dangerous Drugs. And through this appointment, he eventually gave up information to the FBI that led to the takedown of an international crime syndicate with ties to the mafia. In retribution, the mob put a hit on him and Elvis was placed into the witness protection program. His death was fabricated by the U.S. Department of Justice using a wax dummy in the open casket funeral. Since going into hiding, Elvis has remained in contact with his family and has been seen in the public on rare occasions. In the early 90s, believers of the theory thought that he would return to the public spotlight within the next few years. This, of course, has yet to happen. Now, the bulk of this theory comes from three key components: his real-life involvement with the U.S. government, the suspicious circumstances surrounding his death, and lastly, the various sightings of Elvis over the years.
Okay, let's
start with his connection to...
They're going to have to watch.
So cool. Yeah. Yeah, I don't want to give it away, but you did such a great job. So let's go through it, some of it.
Yeah.
So what was his, do you really think that he was trying to get, this assignment to basically turn in drug dealers or get involved? Do you think he was really interested in doing that?
So it's interesting. I didn't put this in my video, but there's a really good video on do you know Drunk History? They get historians drunk and then they tell tales from history, like real true stories, and then people anyway, they did one on Elvis, and like this historian believes that Elvis wanted this badge because he thought he could just get carte blanche anywhere in the world. Like he could just like flash his badge and carry guns in and bring whatever he wanted onto a plane or whatever. Like I couldn't find any like sources that stated that's why he wanted the badge. My research said that he was a collector of badges and he desperately wanted this badge. And so I think that was his in with Nixon. I think he was trying to say like, hey, give me a badge and like I'll help, be a force of change in this country and like get people to, not do drugs and like, cause I'm hip with the kids kind of a thing. I think that's what his angle was, but I think he just wanted the badge.
So you're thinking potentially he was just telling Nixon what he thought he wanted to hear so that he can maybe use that as a power move.
Feeling of it. I mean, I think because what happened was most of this stuff's in the public now, but I forget what department it is. I have the thing on my computer, but basically they wrote up some ideas of how to work with Elvis. Like they were going to maybe do a government sponsored special. There maybe going to be like a song they were going to do, like precursor to Say No to Drugs kind of a thing. So yeah, there were ideas brewing, but I think I don't know, people got distracted. Other things were more important at the time.
But there were serious talks of how the government could use his fame to how could we utilize him if he's actually interested in contributing?
Yeah. There was a presidential memo on how to best use Elvis. Yeah.
How is it even hard for us to comprehend how famous he was? Because now today there's so many channels, like there's unlimited YouTube channels, there's all these TikTok influencers. Like right back in the day, there was only a handful of people.
Yeah, I mean that's
level.
That's something that is like sort of a reflection of how separate we are now with the internet. Like we all consume different things, right? There's not three network channels. There's a plethora of channels, almost infinite amount of content. So like half of like catching up with friends is, hey man, did you see that show? Oh, what show is that? That's like a lot of the conversations we have. Whereas before everyone knew what all the shows were.
Yeah. Everybody in the world knew who Elvis was.
Yeah. So like, I mean, Michael Jackson is another person who hit that fame level.
Yeah.
And today, I would say, other than like, if we stick to musicians, I would probably put Lady Gaga up there in terms of, let's say, modern, because I think, Doug, of Lady Gaga. Maybe you never heard her music, but you know the name. I think she's up there. I don't know if you know Taylor Swift. She's up there.
Yep.
Yeah.
Justin Bieber, maybe. But even I think he's done with music. I think he's checking out. He just sold his catalog. So anyway, yeah. So I mean, yeah, he was in the planet, like, one of the top most recognizable, and probably kind of still is, really. I mean, it's amazing how well the Elvis movie did compared to, say, like the Elton John movie just sort of came and went, but here was this Elvis movie and it just feels like it keeps getting like this second wind, and I'm thankful for it, because that movie directly it boosted sales of my video, not sales, the views of my video. It's insane. I look
you
at the
could feel them go up when
I can see a spike right when the first trailer dropped. It's insane. So yeah, that movie definitely, there's a huge resurgence in Elvis, and then
in the whole period.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think like the Johnny Cash movie, like 15 years ago or so, Walk the Line, sort of did that a little bit
with the Joaquin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Another great film. You know,
That was really
more,
good.
That was more like, you know, down the, you know, it didn't really stray, whereas Baz Luhrmann really took creative license with Elvis, which I thought was fine. Like I really enjoyed the visuals of it, and I like the remixes because it's like I've heard this music so many times. Let's hear it a little different. So,
Do you ever feel like you were born in the wrong time period?
I don't personally feel that way. Sometimes I wish I could go back and like experience the Beatles for the first time, like even if it, you know, like just because the way it was growing up, I just heard all their music on the radio and I didn't really get to have an album experience. Like that would have been cool to like live through their progression as a band, like how exciting that time must have been for music.
Well, I remember seeing the Beatles for first time they were on TV live. Yeah. You know, when I was a kid, I was over at my aunt's house. Remember where I was? And I just remember everybody glued to the TV. The whole house was just glued.
Yeah.
To the TV. It's just amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, those kind of events don't happen anymore.
Yeah, even just think about the moon landing too.
Yeah, yeah, same thing.
I just learned that Pink Floyd, the BBC hired them to do a live jamming concert, like interpretation as the Apollo moon landing footage was going on. So they were just playing to the footage. Like how trippy is that? I just learned about this.
That's so
well. Let's continue this timeline. Okay, so 1970 meets with Nixon. What came out of that meeting?
Oh, he got his badge.
He did.
Yeah, it was what was it called? The Bureau of Narcotics and Dangerous Drugs. He got that badge. It was the precursor to the DEA.
Oh, okay.
And so.
Oh, there it is.
Yeah, they actually sell like replicas of that. You can get them on Etsy and stuff. It's pretty funny.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, but it was just an honorary position. He didn't really have any authority. He didn't become an undercover agent or anything.
Was there at least anything you read where before or after he tried to ever use any of these badges to get out of trouble, or, you know, drank too much, got arrested, or whatever? Uses to.
Not that I read, but earlier, I think, Doug, you asked why he was so interested in law enforcement, and I think what it was like he really got along with them, especially in the early years when he was first performing, because they really held the line between the rabid fandom and him. So I think he really felt grateful and thankful, and so he always made it I just remembering this right now, he always made an effort to like give thanks or like pay for things if a cop was having trouble. I think he really felt protected by them, and he felt like sort of a kinship to them. And I think that's where it kind of comes from a little bit.
Was there ever a time where he was victimized by a criminal or something too that may have triggered that?
Anything that's something I don't know. I mean, I don't really know a lot of his life before going into Sun. Like, I don't know what happened on the road when he was a truck driver. I'm not sure about his family life. I haven't really dug that deep, honestly. But it wouldn't surprise me if something like that too. I mean, that could be part of it. Yeah.
Yeah, I could have swore too at one point. Didn't his dad get swindled somehow from some?
Well, that was later on.
Oh, okay.
Or with the jet sale.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, that was like 76, and that was the big FBI investigation. That's what people cite. Like, why does Elvis have such a large FBI file? Well, it's because they were trying to nail this guy, this con man guy, who had ties to the mafia, and so there was a lot of investigation going on, and Elvis had no idea because it was between Elvis Presley Enterprises and this guy, and Vernon headed that company, headed the Elvis Presley company, so he mostly dealt with this guy, and what's weird about it is like Elvis died right around the time the case was closing, like they were So like that's why people
The
think
timing is weird.
Yeah, so that's why people think like there's a little bit of overlap, but they think like, okay, he went in hiding so that they could arrest this guy and throw him in jail so that the mob wouldn't go after Elvis.
Do you think that's plausible? Or do you don't think there's any
I
way
mean, when Alex means plausible, Eric, he just means a tiny little bit.
Is there a chance? Or are you
just
like
just a 1% chance is plausible, I guess.
I mean, like honestly, this guy had ties to the mafia. He wasn't deep in the mafia, I don't believe. I think he, if anything, like maybe borrowed money from the mafia, had business dealings with them, but I don't think he himself would be considered part of the family. So like I don't think, and especially with how they were in cahoots with Sinatra, like and also his dealings in Vegas, I don't think they'd want him gone. Honestly, I think they wouldn't hold Elvis. I mean, I'm speculating here, but I don't think Elvis was a cash cow for Vegas, and they had huge ties in Vegas, and they would have like let this thing go because this guy was like more of a peon than an actual mafia member. So no, I don't think he would have gone into hiding over that. I mean, there could be something larger that no one really knows, but plausible, sure, but the percentage of it I think is pretty tiny.
So you're saying no one big would have gone away for this, and he brought so much money to Vegas, they would have been shooting themselves in the foot.
Yeah, I think they would have been all is forgiven. This guy was he stepped over the line. He shouldn't have been taking advantage of you. Next time, come to us. I mean, that's what I picture would happen.
You covered a lot of different stuff in the video. Was there anything that you left out that was kind of interesting, but you didn't feel like it made the cut?
Well, yeah, I mean, there. I talk about this sometimes with my friends, but like, if you look at the people who were heavily featured in these 2 TV specials that were promoting the Elvis is alive conspiracy theory, they all had something to gain. I didn't really go into this, but like, there was an author who wrote this book that was fiction, but then she changed the title and called it Elvis and had an Elvis impersonator make a cassette and bundled it with the cassette. And then there was there you go, Elvis is alive. Yeah, which spurred a country singer named Orion, who also leaned into the Elvis is alive. And they just did this fantastic documentary on Orion. He became his own artist, but he based his name on the on the original book title. And then there was like other people, and then it was like it was very much preying on people's like hopes and stuff, and like this was the 90s, and like there was a lot of like alien sightings and stuff.
Oh, that guy does not look anything like Elvis.
Right, but like he sounded like Elvis, and he was on Sun Records, a version of it, not Sam Phillips, but a different incarnation of it. And so like they never said it wasn't Elvis, but they never said it was Elvis. They just sort of said, no, you decide.
There was a guy that I met and actually ended up working with who was a maintenance man at a casino. This guy looked like Elvis, sounded like Elvis, sang like Elvis. It was amazing. And he was just a maintenance guy. He'd just be always happy, singing, and cleaning toilets. And it was crazy. It was up at Black Bear Casino up in Minnesota here. And it gave me the idea to pitch a show called Nowhere Near Vegas.
Nowhere
Near Vegas. Because all these people at the show, they were all there was amazing characters. So I ended up doing this. We'll have to play that sometime, Alex. That trailer I made, it's actually quite good.
Cool.
But Elvis impersonators can nail him pretty good. His music. I mean, he's got some people can, obviously.
Yeah.
It's pretty crazy. Have all these pictures of so-called Elvis, older Elvises been debunked? All of them? pretty much.
Yeah, as far as the ones that the most famous ones I've seen, yes.
They've been debunked.
Yeah.
Somebody just told me there was a clip in Home Alone where there was a guy that supposedly it was Elvis, and are you aware of that?
Yes, I mentioned that in my video.
Is that it?
No, that is the clip. Yeah, that is the man.
Oh, okay.
There was another YouTuber did an investigation, I think, and they actually tracked down that man and they talked to his kids because he's since passed away. But yeah, he was just an extra for the day. So it was a little harder to find, like, okay, who is this guy? Because he's not credited,
So what's the most convincing thing though for the whole conspiracy? Is there one thing that kind of made you give you a pause? Is there any one part of it?
That's an interesting question. I think, like, especially compared to Paul McCartney's theory, like, this is not too outlandish. Like, we hear about celebrities going incognito, you know what I mean? Like, faking death is a huge thing. I mean, we don't know how often that happens. If they get successful, we never know. But, like, it's not like that crazy. It's relatively tame, I would say, compared to some of these other ones that I've come across. So yeah, I mean, it's easy to, like, you don't have to make that many leaps to kind of make it feel like it works, like his death and then this investigation and then, like, all the FBI files, it's hundreds of pages. Most of it's just really boring paperwork. But then, and then, there's, like, the fact that, the official autopsy report is sealed. It's not available to the public.
Is it sealed? Is that true?
Yeah, because the coroner ruled it a natural cause. So there's, if they suspected foul play, then it would be public record. The only thing we have is the medical examiner's chart, which is not the autopsy report. It's something different. That's the only thing that's out and about. And then, the Elvis funeral photo is a little weird looking.
Which one?
The one that was on the Weekly World News.
Yeah, that doesn't look. It looks like the whole thing is drawn. The coffin.
Yeah, but there's actually
drawn.
2 photos. There's that one, and there's another one. I think that one definitely is a fake.
That's a drawing.
But the thing is like, the negatives are gone. Like, they paid the cousin of Elvis to take the photo, but it may have been my guess is the photo was underexposed because he used, like, a crappy spy camera, they call it. It's just probably a tiny camera with not great low light capabilities, and they probably just had to fabricate that.
Well, one thing I don't think you touched upon, I don't know if you know either way. You said he loved performing, but what about the fame itself? Is there any literature about, like, did he like being famous? Did he, towards the end of his life, did he just get sick of it?
Man, I think he got sick of. Well, I mean, I think the Elvis movie did a great job. I don't know how true that is, but they definitely made it seem like he wanted to get out of the Vegas cage, if you will. But no, I mean, it's totally Colonel Parker. He was that. And I mean, he was very much controlling of Elvis and, like, didn't want him to leave the country. And I think he wanted to leave the country. I think he wanted to see the rest of the world because he really didn't get to see that. But yeah, I don't know for sure his feelings on his own fame.
So at least when you were researching, you didn't really find anything.
Yeah, because honestly, most of my research was, like, his, like, the days leading up to his death and then what happened after, because I use this book extensively. I highly recommend it if you want to
Elvis Decoded
learn more than he ever wanted to know. It's a strange.
That is a thick book.
Jeez.
It's not written like a normal book. it is very much written like a Q&A, like, or a fax, like, who found Elvis's body? When was Elvis' body found? You know what I mean? Like, it's very kind of dry, and it goes into conclusions. I mean, it's a really good book for that. Like, here's the medical examiner's report that we know that's in public. You know, things like that.
So it basically gives you all the clues, and then it's like you decide.
Yeah, and then we have the certificate of death, like that.
Wow. Yeah. So they're just packed with information.
Yeah,
I only bring up the fame aspect though, is because if he was sick of being famous, I mean, that would at least give him motivation.
Yeah.
This
Totally.
is kind of a silly story, but like Kevin Bacon, for example, back when he was like really, really famous, is he forgot what it was like to not be recognized. And so he had like a makeup artist like put some prosthetics on him, and
yeah,
he went out for the day, and like nobody knew who he was. Like everyone left him alone, and he said he didn't like it. It was the opposite. He didn't like
it. Oh,
yeah, that he was just an everyday
nobody.
guy. Yeah, nobody. People were walking right past him.
Oh, geez.
But maybe towards the end he was the opposite. Maybe it got to be too much. I
think if you put yourself in his position, somebody that recognizable, I think it would get old. I really do.
Yeah.
I think you would love to have a little be anonymous at some point. So let's talk about the similarities. I mean, same thing with Michael Jackson, Jim Morrison, maybe even Kurt Cobain. Who knows? But there's other similarities. All of them could be theoretically alive, in theory.
Yeah, Jim Morrison especially is a really interesting topic that I definitely want to cover. I really know very little at this point, but like I know there's like some question about who is actually in his grave in Paris.
Yeah.
Like, there is a lot of mystery surrounding the last week or so of his life.
Right. Well, he was very eccentric.
Yeah.
If anybody you could picture wanting to drop out, it would be Morrison.
Oh yeah. Tune in, drop out. And he's he's the 27 Club too. Yeah. So him and Brian Jones, Jimi Hendrix, Janis Joplin, Kurt Cobain. Now, this has been since debunked, but there was a theory going around that Kurt Cobain faked his death and then became the singer for Weezer. And there are some pictures that are pretty convincing, seeing the guys side by side. It's really interesting, but it's been debunked because we have both bands played a show the same night, miles apart. So like,
okay,
yeah, it doesn't really hold up, but it's fascinating. And then there's also like Avril Lavigne did the same thing. Supposedly she faked her death or was replaced by somebody else, a different woman. It's really interesting.
Let's talk about the Paul McCartney thing, because I remember that happening live, when I was a kid. Well, I wasn't a kid, but it was the Sgt. Pepper album, correct?
It was, it was
that recording. So can you tell me, there's a lot of people probably don't know. Do you want to go ahead and just tell what happened with that whole debacle?
Yeah, so supposedly after an argument during a Beatles recording session on November 9th, 1966, Paul McCartney sped off in his car only to be decapitated in an auto accident when he lost control of his vehicle. And was it MI5? They're like Secret Service or whatever. They advised the band to find a replacement because they feared news of Paul's death would create mass hysteria, and they just wanted to like calm the public. So the band held a Paul McCartney lookalike contest, and the winner was a Scottish orphan named William Shears Campbell, or Billy Shears, which maybe you've heard the name. And then they did some minor plastic surgery. And they taught him how to act like Paul, sing and play his music. And Yeah, that's kind of it. And then, what made it easier was that the Beatles had just sort of retired from touring, so he wouldn't have to do this live. It would only be for like interviews and like photo ops. So,
Well, what was on that record when you played it backwards? What did it say again? I don't even remember all the details.
oh yeah, I gotta look that up. I don't. There's so many clues that
Alex, can you look that up?
I can look.
I'm curious. Because that I remember that because it was the
So
first.
yeah, when you play "I Am the Walrus,"
Yeah, it was the first conspiracy theory I'd ever been
yeah,
exposed to when I was young.
yeah, you hear "Paul is dead," haha, when you play
Yeah,
"I
or
Am the
something like
Walrus"
that. Yeah.
towards the end.
Yeah.
And then when you during the first verse of "Blue Jay Way," you can hear some vocalization say "Paul is buried," and then "Strawberry Fields Forever." Uh, you can hear John say, "I buried Paul."
Jeez.
And then
Okay, so let's stop right there. Are those things true? Was that really on there?
yeah,
Have you heard it?
you can hear them. Yeah,
Have you heard it yourself?
yeah, I play them in the video. So when you
Oh, okay.
play, what is
Can you?
it?
Well, Alex, can you find that clip on his channel?
And then
I'd love to-
Revolution 9, when you play that backwards, it says "Turn me on, dead man."
Jeez.
I go into like kind of debunking all of these, but it's fascinating. I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
There's one that says "Paul is dead, man. Miss him, miss him, miss him."
So, do you think that's just that pareidolia type situation, or do you think they really recorded that on purpose?
There's some like backwards stuff they did on purpose, but no, it's all interpretation. It's what like fans thought.
Okay.
Like there's the backwards message at the end of "I'm so tired" doesn't say "Paul is dead, man, miss him." It's actually forwards with John saying "Monsieur, Monsieur, how about another one?" But when you play it backwards, it sounds weird, and so you fill in the
Right.
blanks. It's like what's the term? Confirmation bias, right? You
Yeah.
ignore the parts that don't fit, and you focus on the parts that do. And then like
Yeah, correct.
the
So-
weird one is the Revolution 9, "Turn Me On, Dead Man." That just sounds like that when you play
It's
that
really
section
clear,
backwards.
super clear.
Yeah, that one's such a trip. But no, I mean, like, to find someone who could sing, act, play like Paul, and then go on to have a phenomenal songwriting career is insane. And the fact that it supposedly happened in 1966 and we only found out about it in 1969, and then soon after we learned of the Beatles breaking up, and it was just like this whole thing. And one of the books I read sort of hypothesized that, I think I even wrote this, but I ended up cutting it out, but like there was a lot of youth going off, especially in America, going off to Vietnam and dying or returning home messed up, and like there a lot of young people were seeing death all the time, and it was just like, I don't know, there was something that sort of projected this onto a celebrity to like somehow make it was a way of coping, or I don't know. It's just I don't have the the analytical mind to really articulate what this author was trying to say, but I thought it was an interesting theory about why this came about when it did come about.
Was
'Cause
there
it is
any?
interesting because it's such a bizarre thing, Paul is dead. Play this backwards, and it just kind of spread like a wildfire.
I don't think I ever got more intrigued with anything when I was young. That when I heard about this, it's like, oh my God, definitely was my first exposure to any conspiracies. First time I'd ever even heard the word.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
What a trip!
Yeah. It's pretty crazy. So what artist intrigues you the most on kind of a mysterious life and how their life ended? Is there one that really jumps out? Is it Elvis, or is it some other artist?
Oh, I mean, jumps out at me. I mean, I guess I'm just saddened by the loss of Prince and just the way that all went down. But that's just more tragic than like mysterious.
Yeah.
But I would say more so Jim Morrison maybe, or even like somewhat like, well,
Of
yeah,
course, Prince could still be alive too. So, it's the same thing. It's the same kind of scenario. He was kind of getting, he was changing.
yeah. Oh
He
yeah, you
was-
guys are so close or relatively close. More so
Oh, I
than
know tons
am.
of people that knew him, and
Yeah.
he was really going through some mental anguish.
He was in pain too, a lot of pain.
Yeah, yeah,
From beating his body up.
yeah. But it is interesting, you always get that little wonder, because they got the money to just disappear.
Mm-hmm.
Could be living in South America somewhere, you just have no
Yeah,
idea.
I mean that's what I feel more about Jim Morrison, because he just seems like the personality type to be like, yeah, I'm done. I'm gonna go paint. I don't know.
And it's such, if so many of these people we've lost to just by drug overdoses.
Yeah.
It's such a tragedy, to lose people over something so dumb, I guess.
But I got absolutely. And it's sad that that's a lot of what the 27 Club is about.
Yeah.
Is just how turbulent the 20s can be, and how just not getting the help they need. And also, like, I'm surrounded by a lot of yes people, not necessarily, just enabling these addictions and whatnot.
Yeah.
But what was I going to say? Anyway, yeah, continue. Yeah.
Well, I was going to change the subject for a minute. Somebody John Ayers mentioned, he says, he's got a question. Who would have ever thought, to even play a record backwards?
Yeah. I mean, it's not easy for that time, because most record players, you would have to have done it manually.
Yeah, right, manually. Your
and
finger.
even then, it's like you're not going to get a constant correct speed. Some record players really wouldn't want to go that way. Just the way, like, a lot of the idler wheel type of turntables, like anything from Dual, like a 1019 would not want to be spun backwards. Even like a BSR, like some of these record changers would not want to have that happen to them. So yeah, that definitely, like, I think that's where the DJs came in, these regional DJs that had these better turntables that could do that. But yeah, that's a great question. I think because like now there's turntables on the market that will go backwards. You can hit a button and it will play reverse.
Okay.
But at that time, I can't think of a record. I could be wrong, but I can't think of a record player that would do that.
You just wonder who the first guy was that did that. Is he famous?
It makes me feel like maybe some kids were bored. I don't know, and they were like, "Hey, this sounds funny. Play, let me do this backwards," because like maybe their dad had I don't know. Yeah, that's a great question.
But you wonder how it went viral back in those days. There was no.
Well, it was the radio. It was the radio, and then to a lesser extent, newspaper, and then eventually it reached the level of television. But it was definitely radio that spurred it. Different stations picked it up, and people would call in. They would hear it in one town, call their local station. Hey, have you heard about if you play White Album backwards, it does this? And then some DJ tries it. It's like, oh crap, that's amazing. So, but yeah, oh crap, I almost had it. Anyway,
do you think a lot of bands did this deliberately from like a marketing play to like?
There was talk about
leak it.
Back in the 90s, Pink Floyd, there was a conspiracy going on. It was called Publius Enigma, and there's speculation that was a record label, because I think one of the concerts actually had that displayed across the stage.
Oh, of course, yeah.
But I can't think of anything off the top of my head that was a deliberate sort of like mystery. I'm sure there are ones out there, maybe not from like huge bands, maybe like smaller bands, independent bands.
Like, I wonder how many of these are, an accident, how many of them are intentionally done.
Well, moving forward from the Paul is dead, then people started leaving things. But even the Beatles themselves, if you let a UK or any other copy than versus a US copy of Sgt. Pepper's, there's a locked groove at the end, and it plays this gibberish that the Beatles are doing. It's really quite interesting. But that was deliberate. But you don't. They cut it off on the Capitol release in the US. You don't hear it.
That's interesting.
I mean, I think reissues have it, but not the original US Capitol release back in '67. What else was I gonna? Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of there's a theory that David Bowie predicted Kanye West. That's a whole thing.
What is that? Like,
if you look at the cover, or maybe it's the back cover of Ziggy Stardust and the Spiders from Mars, there's a sign that says like K West on it, and there's like a whole theory that goes into that.
Is there any of these recordings, Alex, that you can find online that we can just play?
Oh yeah, the Paul's Dead stuff. Yeah,
Alex.
I'm sure there is.
I've got your channel up. I see 2 videos you did at least on the top here about Paul McCartney specifically.
Oh yeah, but you'd have to like dig in there to find.
Yeah, I'm talking about just look for that exact soundbite.
Okay. I'm sure something will come up.
Like if you search for Paul is Dead Man, miss him. There's a clip of it.
Be fun to hear it.
And then what is the?
Have you done a show on Michael Jackson on all that craziness? Just so much craziness surrounding that guy. He would add so many reasons, to want to.
I mean, I personally always thought, like him and his sister are the same person, but there is a theory that LaToya is Michael.
So I got the clip, the Paul is Dead Man. So it comes up here in a second.
Okay.
And then you can look up like "Turn Me On, Dead Man," and that's another one. But that one's crazy, right? I mean,
it's definitely interpretation in there.
Yeah,
for sure. Crazy stuff.
Oh yeah, but some of the that's what I was gonna say. To me, like these are all really interesting, but like the stuff that really excites me is the stuff that really happened. And so this is one I'm trying to get more research done out of it, but there is a supposedly a lost album with Charles Manson and the Beach Boys. They recorded it at Brian Wilson's house.
Yeah, I've heard about this.
Never got released.
Yeah.
For obvious reasons.
I wonder why.
So the Beach Boys bought a song off of him, recorded it, changed the title. He doesn't get authorship of that song. Charles Manson did record an album that came out once he was incarcerated called Lie. But that recording is not the recording that they did. It's separate. It's really interesting. And it's like, it's hard to get confirmation from the Beach Boys camp because most of this is coming from Charles, his biography. So you kind of have to take it with a grain of salt.
So have you had the pleasure of meeting some of the people that you own records on? Do you ever interview some of the
I got
celebrity musicians?
I got to hang out with Colin Hay of Men at Work, and that was amazing.
Pretty cool.
And there's some other people that you probably don't know. And then Johnny Eccles from the band Love. I don't know if you remember Love back in the day.
That one I don't.
I'm sure you would know them if you heard some of their songs.
Yeah.
Kind of they were label mates of the Doors. They were actually good friends with the Doors.
Oh, okay.
They played a lot of shows together. Sort of came out. They came up at the same time, but because Love was an interracial group, they got sort of, I wouldn't say looked over, but there were certain areas they couldn't play because of, I think, for obvious reasons. And unfortunately, just the climate just said, we don't want interracial bands. And so the Doors got sort of all the promotion money from Elektra, and Love, they continue to put out great music, but it just didn't get the same play. They didn't get to build that audience because they didn't get TV coverage. They didn't get to play a lot of parts of the US, unfortunately. But I highly recommend them, and great music. The first 3 albums are incredible.
Pretty interesting. There was a strange thing happened to me one time where I had, when I was first getting into the TV business, I was looking for somebody to film a pilot on spec. So I meet this guy from California who responds to this. I don't know if it's an ad I put out, and I met with him. He agreed to do all this. Took a jillion amount of equipment, and I asked him, how could you afford all this equipment and be willing to shoot this pilot for free? And he said, well, I had a hit record. And, when I was younger, he was in Michael and the Messengers, first band to be signed by Motown. And he's telling me this stuff and everything, and that's cool. And I didn't think a whole lot about it, but I remembered this story. Well, then he taught me the whole television business.
Oh, wow.
Taught me how to shoot, edit, everything. Then my first TV interview was, to swear to God, a whole other part of the country, first TV interview. And this guy had this big mansion on Lake Superior. And I just asked him, well, how did you, where did you create your wealth? And he goes, well, I had a hit record when, I was young. And he's like, and I'm thinking, I didn't really put 2 to 2 together. And one day I was over they're both named Greg. One day I'm at the other Greg's, and I said, did you know by any chance? All of a sudden it connected the dots. Greg Bambenek, the first guy interviewed with the talents of this other guy. And he goes, yeah, he was in the band.
Oh, wow.
And I'm like, okay. I said, when's the last time you talked to Greg Bambenek? This is weird. He goes, oh, it's been like 30 years. I called Greg Bambenek and reunited these guys.
Oh, that's awesome.
But the point was, what were the chances of that?
Yeah. Insane.
Both met them both independently, both in the same band.
Yeah.
Both lived in different parts of the country. And I'm the one that reunited them. And they both taught me my first TV interview, and the guy that taught me how to do television production. So it was so weird. So I've got a new book. I've got a book coming out, and the name of the book is called Monsters and Messengers, based on Michael and the Messengers story.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's just weird. There's weird things that happen. Yeah. Magical, strange things. You kind of wonder. So, were your parents really into music and all this stuff, Derek, or is this just kind of all came from your own?
I think they had a healthy, normal appreciation of music.
Normal?
Music was always around.
Okay.
My dad studied upright bass in college for a bit, but didn't really pursue much. He was definitely more into jazz and blues, what you'd call classic rock. My mom was more into like Genesis and Peter Gabriel, Sting, Pat Metheny. I definitely got that. And then like my older brothers, my one brother was really into U2 at the time and different things like that. So yeah, music was always a big part of my life, but sort of, I don't know I don't even know what the phrase is, but like I've sort of, when I put on the mask, I became I became the geek. But yeah, doing this show, I realized how I thought I had a pretty good knowledge of music, but I was really deficient in just general music knowledge. I was very specific of certain genres, but then had no idea of other genres, or even just like, generally critically acclaimed artists and bands. Like I really had to step up my game, and now it's just like I unleash the beast and I have to feed it all the time. Music.
So I forgot to ask you one question. How in the world, and this has got to be true because it's pretty much everywhere, how did his middle name get spelled wrong on his gravestone, Elvis?
Oh, he said it's because his parents, well, okay, his parents weren't great spellers. So that's his name on his birth certificate.
Oh, okay.
But I guess no, because he did legally change it at one point. One of the Memphis Mafia members remembers a dinner, or maybe it was a poker game or something, where he turned to his dad and says, I want my name with 2 ways like it is in the Bible from now on. And if you look at his divorce papers, he spells it with 2 ways. But actually, I think he even goes in this. Yeah, so it's with 2 ways. But he was born with 1 A. So I think he did legally change it at some point. It goes in. I think there's an explanation actually in this book.
Okay.
Funny enough, but yeah, that's kind of the gist of it. Yeah, it's just his parents weren't great at spelling.
I was looking at this list of 13, things, and the craziest one, of course, is at the very end is like his manager Colonel Tom Parker killed him. That was one. That was just nuts.
Oh yeah.
And then there was one here. He lives in an underground bunker with Michael Jackson. So
that's a premise for an Odd Couple reboot. If I've ever heard one.
Exactly.
Michael, what did you put the peanut butter sandwiches? Oh, it's over here. Like, oh my gosh. That's an SNL. That's about as far as you could get on an SNL skit. I don't think you can make a whole show of that. That would be funny seeing those two together.
Yeah.
Michael, he burned it again. I don't know why Michael's the homemaker. Anyway,
I love the one where he's a groundsman at Graceland. So he's
that
the
guy,
caretaker.
Yeah, that guy's kind of funny. Yeah, that guy.
And what was the latest one with this pastor? Some pastor kind of look like
that. Is that a newer thing?
That's newer, yeah.
Yeah. I can't keep up.
So like this guy right here, right? The groundskeeper. Why did they think that was him? Like I just see a guy walking across.
Oh, because he could kind of sing like Elvis, and
really?
He looks like what Elvis might look like now.
Yeah, right.
But I think he's way younger than Elvis should be. Whenever that was taken, I think he's like at least 15 years younger.
How old would Elvis be today?
Well, he was born in 38, right?
I believe, yeah. So that would make him in his 80s.
Can't do the math. Yeah.
You just can't picture Elvis in his 80s. Can't picture it.
Yeah, it's like 84.
God, you can't picture it. It's crazy.
Well, they tried. Weekly World News. Those photo mock-ups crack me up with him balding and stuff.
Oh yeah, that's funny. It's hilarious. So where can people either contact you? Let's give them the name. Alex, can you put up his channel again and the name so everybody can catch it?
Yeah, I mean YouTube, Vinyl Rewind. I'm on most of the social media.
I mean, you're approaching 250,000 subscribers.
Yeah, we're getting up there, man. It's cool.
Yeah. When did you start your channel, Eric?
A long time ago. 2011.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. It took a while to kind of find my groove and to like figure out my persona. Like if you watch the early years, that playlist, it's so different.
Have you kept up every video you've ever uploaded?
There's a fair number that are unlisted. Like if you send me an email and say, "Hey, I remember watching this," I'll send you the link, but there's
Okay.
just some stuff that like I'm not really proud of, and like I don't think it represents my channel now. Sometimes I put them in like a playlist, like the early years playlist. Like those aren't public; they're unlisted, but the playlist is public, so you can watch them. I just don't want someone to like randomly find some of my earlier work and just think that's what my channel is now.
And dismiss you when you've grown.
Right. When it's like, that's not, that was me trying to figure stuff out. And there's like other videos that like, I don't think are that great. I've been asked to take down one because they didn't like, it was a company. They didn't like how I talked about their company. So I had to unlist that video.
So what did you end up doing on the animals? What did you? I saw Alex was scrolling.
That was Pink Floyd's Animals.
Oh, okay.
Not the
It wasn't
band,
Eric
Animals.
Burton.
Yeah.
Okay.
Was this your first channel, Eric, that you ever made, or did you try out different stuff? Like, did you know right away this is kind of like what you wanted to do in some capacity, or did you experiment with other channels, niches?
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, like in 2004, I started making a feature film, and I didn't finish it until like 2006, and it was just like, that was like a long process, and I was like, I don't want to do this again. I'd rather focus on short film. And but I have my first YouTube channel was just like things that I've made. So I have like a music video up there and stuff, and like some stuff I acted in. That's technically my first, but I just saw it as a place to keep things, not like me being a personality. And it wasn't until like 2010 when I really started thinking about, hey, I kind of want to do something, because I'm watching these other people make videos, and I'm not really working a lot as an actor right now. I got a lot of downtime. Like I should do something. And like I didn't want to talk about music or movies or video games, because that felt so saturated. So I was like, I'll talk about music, and it sort of expanded from there. But initially I thought it might be interesting to watch someone react to something in real time, but it ended up being kind of boring. So I started talking about facts about the record, and then it sort of morphed from that into like doing reviews, but they really weren't reviews per se. And then they turned into real reviews, and then I started expanding other content. But eventually I sort of settled on these more, I like the term you use, Doug, the expose term, but just sort of these video essays, these explorations.
Yeah.
Because I'm a curious person, and I love.
You do a really good job.
Thank you. Yeah, I like to
really
tell a
encourage
story. Not just like have it dry with fact, but actually take you on a journey and go from there.
You're getting a few questions here. I don't know if you want to address a couple of them.
Of course, yeah, happy to.
So first off, they want to know how old you are. I have no clue. I thought you were like 21 years old.
I'm 41. I just turned 41.
Really? Jeez. Yeah. Okay, well, the LA lifestyle's being good to you.
It's called moisturizer. Wash the
moisturizer.
Face.
That's
sunscreen.
That's Alex. Alex is what, 60 now. He uses really good moisturizer.
Yeah, I'm getting up there with Elvis.
Do you believe people were? We always teased and said you were what, 55?
Yeah.
Anyhow, okay. See, Tim Ellerin. How did the plane crash with members of Leonard Skinner impact that era of music? I don't even know if you can answer that. I'd have no idea.
That's a tragedy for sure. But yeah, as far as the impact, I mean, I think it definitely created a dent, or it created a hole for like country rock, that genre. I don't think the band never recovered from that. I mean, it was.
And what an amazing original band too. I mean, they were just so
I
talented.
love that feud between Neil Young and them. Like I should cover that at some point.
That would be cool. Yeah, Neil Young, boy, he's an interesting man.
Yeah.
Super interesting, man.
So one thing I'm dying to know.
Yeah.
Your set is immaculate. Like, is your whole place set up like that, or do you have like designated parts of your place that
Yeah, it's just this room. It's my man cave. Think of like Wayne's World, kind of how they shot in their garage. Same kind of idea. Yeah. But it's like, it's a full space. I got my records in here and I got a bar.
It's real, yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's pretty cool. I love it.
Cool.
Trying to think if there's anything else here that's I wanna. Somebody asked, what's the meaning of the song Horse with No Name? How in the hell is Eric gonna know that, Tim?
Horse with No Name. I don't know. What does Wikipedia say?
That was the band America, I believe.
Yeah, right. That's like the song with just 2 chords the whole time.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I had the pleasure of meeting those guys here not too long ago.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, so, but they were great live. They were just awesome live. I was really shocked, actually. They were good. They
had
really
that
good.
canyon sound they talk about now.
Yeah. No, they're definitely real talented musicians. Oh, man. Okay. It's 9:01. We're done. We're out of time.
Right.
Thank you so much, Eric.
Yeah, it was a blast. Thank you.
Yeah, it was really fun.
Thank you for coming on.
And we really appreciate it. Wish you a lot of luck on your already very successful channel. It's going to keep growing.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah. Keep covering those conspiracies.
All right. I plan to. All right. Stay warm.
Yep, we will. And you stay cool down there.
All right.
Okay.
I will.
Talk to you later.
Take
Thanks,
care,
Eric.
everyone.
Yeah. Thanks, Alex. Bye.
See you later.
Call you up in the middle of the night. Been bothered by dreams, ain't feeling alright. You give me comfort, say just give it some time. By the end of our talk, I'm feeling just fine. You and I will always know where we belong. This ain't no ordinary love. We